If you are a Canadian first-time homebuyer, the government has introduced a new investment account type that you need to know about. The FHSA, First Home Savings Account, is a new type of investment account that you can use to save and invest for your first home purchase. We'll get into details later in this video, but on a high level, this new account combines the best features of some existing account types, the TFSA and RSP, and it could be quite a powerful tool. But does that mean that you should go out and open this new account right away? There are some considerations on how to best utilize this account, including the timing of when you open it, which I'll be covering in this video. So remember that the main purpose of the FHSA is to help Canadians save and invest for their first home. With that in mind, let's start by going over who can open this account. You must be at least 18 years old, living in Canada, and a first-time homebuyer by the government's definition, which means that you have not lived in a home that you owned or that your spouse or common law partner has owned in the last 4 calendar years. To be specific, that means this year and the 4 calendar years prior. So even if you did not own the home, but your common law partner or your spouse did, and you lived there within the last 4 years, you would not meet the definition of a first-time homebuyer. Now conversely, if you have bought investment property before, but you never lived in the unit and instead rented it out, you could qualify. Side note, I did say the minimum age is 18, but keep in mind that when you open an investment account that goes for FHSA, TFSA, or any of them, you do have to be the legal age in your province. And so, for example, here in BC, that would be 19. Now, once open, you can keep this account for a total of 15 years. This will be important later when we walk through some examples. Now let's go over the main benefits of this account. If you're familiar with the RRSP and TFSA, this new account combines the best features of both of these, being number one, any FHSA contributions are tax deductible. That means when you put money in, you are able to lower your taxable income for that year. This is the same benefit that you normally get from RRSPs. So if you were to put money into an FHSA in the 2023 calendar year, you would be able to deduct that from your 2023 taxable income. Number two, your money would grow tax-free until you need to use it for a qualifying home purchase, where you can then withdraw the entire account, which includes everything that you put in, plus any growth from investments, and you can withdraw that completely tax-free. And this is similar to the benefit of the TFSA account. So in summary, you get the benefits of tax deductions on your contributions and the flexibility of withdrawing tax-free for the purpose of buying your first home. Other benefits are that you do not have to pay this amount back once you use it. You can and actually will be required to close your FHSA account. If you don't end up using it for a home purchase, maybe you can decide to continue renting, you can transfer your FHSA account into your RRSP and it won't use up any of your RSP contribution room. Speaking of RSP, another benefit is that you can use this FHSA alongside the RSP Home Buyers Plan, which is a program that allows you to withdraw up to $35,000 from your RSP without having to pay tax on that. But the catch there is that you are required to eventually pay that amount back to your RSP. With the FHSA, you do not have to pay anything back. So you're allowed to put in $8,000 every year into your FHSA, up to a lifetime maximum of $40,000. This means that it would take at least 5 years to max out the account, assuming you put in the full $8,000 every year. If you do not put in the full yearly amount, you can carry forward that unused amount to be used in the following year. But in any given year, you can only carry forward up to a maximum of $8,000. I'll explain this with an example. If you open the FHSA this year, you would be allowed to put in the full $8,000. But let's just say that you end up putting in nothing. So that $8,000 unused room would carry forward to the next year. In 2024, you would be allowed to put in the $8,000 for 2024 plus the $8,000 that you did not use in 2023, which was carried forward, for a total of $16,000. Let's say that you did not put anything in again. So now you've gone 2 years without putting anything in. What happens in 2025 is that you're allowed to put in the $8,000 for 2025 plus $8,000 that was carried forward from 2024. The amount that you missed in 2023 would not have been carried over because, again, the maximum carry forward room in any given year is $8,000. The last thing to note on contributions is that you are allowed to move money that's already in your RSP and you can transfer that into your FHSA to be counted as your FHSA contribution. However, very important note, this does not free up any RSP room. when you put money into your RSP, you already used up your RSP contribution room there. Now when you move it over to your FHSA, you will simply use up your FHSA room, but you do not gain back that RSP room. So now let's talk about withdrawals and what happens when it comes time to buy your first home and actually use these funds. When you withdraw, you can take the entire account out tax-free, meaning it won't increase your taxable income, as long as you're using the money for a qualifying first home purchase. Now, if you withdraw but the funds are not used for a first home, then the withdrawal would be taxable as income. Note that you can only use the FHSA account type once, and when you use it, it must be used to buy a home that's in Canada. You can keep this account open for 15 years total. If you never end up using the money to buy a home, you would have to close the account and transfer the money out to your RSP or withdraw it as taxable income. An important thing to know is that FHSAs cannot be joint accounts and they cannot be spousal accounts. They are individual, meaning you can only open an FHSA in your own name, and any tax deductions from contributions can only be claimed by you as the account holder, not your spouse or anyone. If you have a partner that you want to buy a home with, what you can do is both open FHSAs in your own names and just plan to use the funds from both accounts to eventually buy the same home. Now, ideally, the money that you put into your FHSA would be used to buy actual investments so that your money can grow between now and when you need it to buy your first home. So when you withdraw, if your money has grown, you would hopefully be taking out more than what you initially put in and can use all of that towards your down payment. But it's very, very important to understand that what you do with the money in your FHSA, whether you invest it into things like stocks and bonds or just save and keep it in cash, should be based on when you need the money. If you don't understand this concept, check out my Investing 101 video where I explain that in detail. To end off, one thing I want to point out about this account is the timing of using it. If you just turn 18 and have a long time before you plan to buy your first home, you may be using this account for that investment growth component to grow your money because you have that longer time frame and can afford to invest your FHSA into higher growth investments that pay off over the long term, but come at the risk of dropping or fluctuating quite a bit in the short term. With the 15-year maximum time limit for this account, another thing you'd want to ask yourself is, do you realistically plan to buy a house within that time frame? If you do use this account, but end up buying a home after 15 years, unfortunately, you wouldn't have had the chance to use the funds in your FHSA because you would have been required to transfer the money out to your RSP or withdraw it as taxable income in year 15. If you're like me, for example, at 28 years old and probably going to buy a home in the next 5 years or so, you might not get as much investment growth out of this account, but you could reap the benefits of the tax deductions, especially if you're in a higher tax bracket. This account should be available to be open at most major financial institutions by later this year. At Steadyhand, we are working on it and will update you as soon as it's available. I hope you found this video helpful, and please let us know in the comments if you're planning to open an FHSA. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the Steadyhand YouTube channel where we try to make investing simpler and more enjoyable.